Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. Iraq is a nation endowed with immense natural wealth, lying atop one of the richest tapestries of untapped resources in the Middle East. Its land is soaked in oil, laced with valuable minerals, and underpinned by the strategic geography that makes it a commercial corridor between Asia, Europe, and Africa. For decades, the country has been more famous for war and turmoil than for the untapped potential that sits just beneath its surface. Yet, in recent years, and particularly now, a quiet revolution is taking place, a complex and multi-layered economic transformation that ties together Iraq's natural resource wealth, taxation structure, customs infrastructure, and sweeping banking reforms. What's remarkable is that all of this continues despite heightened geopolitical pressures, regional instability, and persistent interference from factions both inside and outside the nation. At the heart of this transformation is a vision. Iraq no longer wants to be a raw resource exporter and nothing more. Rather than just pumping oil and relying on international actors to manage revenue, Baghdad is trying to reclaim control of its economic destiny. This means harnessing its wealth not only through direct exports of oil and gas, but through the smart regulation and taxation of economic activity, the digitalization of banking, and the integration of all these reforms into a national strategy that can stand resilient even under political, military, or financial pressure. Today, what many fail to see, especially outside of Iraq, is that this strategy is progressing. It hasn't stopped. Not even for a moment. Iraq's natural resources are not limited to petroleum. While oil dominates the headlines, making Iraq the second-largest producer in OPEC after Saudi Arabia, there's much more below the ground. Iraq is estimated to have significant reserves of gold, sulfur, phosphates, uranium, and even rare earth minerals that are increasingly valuable in a world transitioning to clean energy technologies. These are strategic assets in the modern economy, and the government of Iraq knows it. What we are seeing now is the gradual awakening of institutional awareness, a drive to formalize and monetize every economic advantage Iraq possesses. This requires legal reform, international agreements, digitization, enforcement mechanisms, and most critically, a functioning and trustworthy banking sector. Enter the focus on taxation, customs, and fees. These are not random elements or small bureaucratic adjustments. They are central pillars of Iraq's attempt to rebuild its state revenue system. For too long, Iraq was overly reliant on oil exports for more than 90% of its budgetary revenue. When oil prices fell or production was disrupted, the entire system fell into crisis. The new strategy being implemented, sometimes slowly, often imperfectly, but persistently, is to diversify the revenue base. Customs reforms, for example, involve automating border inspections, stamping out bribery at entry points, increasing the accuracy of trade data, and making sure that fees and tariffs actually reach the Treasury. The goal is twofold: secure borders and a transparent national income stream. Consider the backdrop. As recently as a few years ago, Iraq's economy was viewed by many global financial institutions as high-risk, volatile, and unreliable. Currency manipulation, dollar smuggling, the presence of sanctioned banks, and Iranian-backed political interference made serious investment nearly impossible. Today, however, the central bank is shutting down banks that don't comply with international standards. The government is reforming the public payroll, auditing military expenditures, and forcing even large religious foundations and militia-linked businesses to come under financial review. Iraq is signing strategic economic agreements with countries like China, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, not just in oil but in infrastructure, transport, and mining. This regional diplomacy is tied to the same goal: monetizing Iraq's resources and formalizing its economy. If the country can connect its roads, rail, and ports to its neighbors, and enforce customs and taxation across these channels, it becomes more than an exporter. It becomes a regional hub. That's why reforms in customs and banking matter so much. It's not just about stopping corruption or pleasing the IMF. It's about preparing Iraq to play a vital role in a new economic corridor that links the Gulf to Europe. And still, none of this would work without the stability offered by a trusted banking system. That's why you see such a focus on things like IBAN numbers, card-based systems, mobile banking apps, and currency redenomination strategies. All these tools are part of one long-term strategy: remove dependence on the dollar, increase the value of the dinar, and integrate Iraq into the global financial network. But you can't do that overnight. It takes preparation. It takes trust. And trust is only built through consistent, transparent action, especially in the areas of taxation, customs, and banking oversight. The critics, both inside and outside Iraq, often don't see the full picture. They may point to violence or political standoffs or economic disparity and argue that Iraq is falling backward. But that is an incomplete narrative. Underneath the surface, a national system is being rebuilt from the inside out. It's not glamorous. It doesn't produce instant results. But it is strategic, resilient, and long-term. It is not stopping. Even amid protests, international disputes, or regional wars, the architects of Iraq's economic recovery are continuing the work of modernization. And perhaps the most hopeful sign is this: Iraqi citizens are beginning to engage. More and more people are using electronic cards. More businesses are registering legally. More voices are demanding accountability, economic dignity, and transparency. These are not small developments. These are signs of a country learning how to govern itself through law, finance, and structure, not just through oil wealth or foreign aid. And this, ultimately, is what will determine whether Iraq becomes a stable, prosperous nation or returns to cycles of crisis. The banking reforms, the taxation policies, the enforcement of customs, they are all connected to Iraq's natural wealth. They are the mechanisms by which that wealth can be used to uplift the population, stabilize the state, and build international credibility. This is why these efforts continue even under pressure. They are no longer optional. They are essential. And the fact that they persist, day after day, reform after reform, is the most powerful evidence that Iraq is not just trying to change. It is already changing. It is on its way. Thanks for tuning in to Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.